Jackie, I'm so excited for you to join me. And hello to everyone else. Thank you for taking just a few minutes of your time. I got so excited when you sent me a message the other day. Let me first do a brief introduction and then, tell why we're here together for these few minutes. There's a new book, Revolution Must Come to Our House, Our Home, the Vision book. I'm so excited. And this really is, it's a work that is a revision to a work that I did 15 years ago. Revolution Must Come to the Church. And as the years have happened and my own growth, this really takes the vision and has grown with me. And so this book really is not just a read. It's a blueprint for healing, both individually, but also community. And really, it was born out of now I'm getting older, over 20 years of work in community development, church reformation, and really soul deep healing. And it picks up where my earlier book, Revolution Must Come to the Church, left off. But this time, we're going even deeper. We're not just calling for a change in institutions, we're healing from the inside out. And this book really lays out, it's a vision book. It lays out the model that I've been building called Social Tech, which is a system of a healing first discipleship, sustainable values and sustainable value-based living and community design. So not only the social aspects of community, but the physical aspects as well. And to capture it, the picture being worth 1,000 words, think of it like a house. Every chapter is a room in that house, and every room holds a part of what we need to live well, to live boldly, to lead with integrity, to live life fully today, like literally. And then starting with chapter 17, part 4, which really starts with chapter 16, but we walk through the healing cycle, the 5-step process that really has been designed to help us deal deeply and face trauma, tells you about how we define that. And it's a little bit different than a lot of times people hear, teaching us the tools to reclaim our voice, to start living in alignment with who we really are and our purpose, the truth of our existence. And so this is not just for people in crisis, although this work is designed for what's the quickest, fastest way we can do healing, even in the midst of crisis. It's not just for people in crisis. It's really for anyone who wants to stop surviving, who wants to start building a life and community rooted in truth and wholeness, but who understands that healing first is the mandate. That's the charge. And so for individuals who are ready to add some tools to their toolbox for something that's real, where there's results that you'll be able to see in how you begin to process life differently. And so for individuals who've been craving healing, revolution. I talk about revolution on purpose. It's not revival. In religious circles, we hear revival. Revolution is sharp, it's jolting, it's a big change, and that's oftentimes what our lives need. So for those who are ready for something that's real and they're craving a healing revolution in their own life, it starts with me. I'm the part of community that I can absolutely heal. And so it's an invitation, and individuals can buy the digital copy of the book on the nowastedtime.com website. They can also go to the International Welcome Center's website, which is globalundergroundrailroad.com. And you can also find it on Amazon, the print copy, which is what you have in your hand. And thank you for your support. And I believe that this is a revolution, and it must come to our house, our home first. And then it radiates from there. So I appreciate you supporting it. And my hope is that it will be a gift that you give to yourself, an investment in your own healing journey. So thank you for supporting the book and then taking a few minutes to talk about it with me. It's so good to see other people hold it. There's been several pictures of people saying, I got my book, and I'm just like, amazing. Wow. So I'm
so excited about it. I'm so excited about it. It is a great read. It is healing in process, and it has helped me out a lot. I've already started using it.
Yeah. The bonus, some people, if they know me or they follow my social media, they know I like yappas. And so the print copy has a bonus journal in the back that gives people journal space to be able to do 30 healing cycles using the tools that are in part 4. For those that buy the digital book, it's PDF, so they have the worksheet pages that they can print out on their own. So the extra bonus is the book is there, and I just really am proud of this work. I feel like it is a very honest representation of the work that I do, that I'm passionate about. So this is the revolution, and it's got to come home. So that's what this book is about. Yeah. So I wanted to do this, and I thank you for coming, because I really wanted to give people like just a really quick intro on how to use this book. I want you to read it. I want you to read the first part of it. Parts 1, 2, and 3 are really important about understanding this work. But if you have to choose and make a time choice, go to part 4. Part 4 starts with understanding how we define trauma in this system. And then chapters 17 through 22 walk you through the process of using these healing tools. You'll use them with your journal. And so it walks you through the count to 5, the 5-step process that helps you name your truth, understand the impact of past experiences, help you to be able to identify your own values and expectations for life, the things that really guide you in life, and begin to do the work of healing, emotional and spiritual restoration. We talk a lot about healing. This is about doing the work of healing. And so it's a very step-by-step instruction for how to do the work of healing using the social tech tools. And so if you've got to make a choice, read it all, of course, but part 4 takes you straight to the healing. And we encourage you to use the tools. That's why we put the bonus journal in the back of it. We want you to use the tools and begin to work through the stuff that oftentimes keeps us from being able to work together in community and truly be living our truth in love, Okay. Less than 3 minutes. Because I got tired. Okay. All right. So what I'll do is I'll just take you through the steps. How about that? How about we just
that'd be great.
Real briefly. So step 1 starts, and it seems simple, but oftentimes this is hard for us to tell our story. Okay. Some ladies that were here for the month-long intensive, our Gangsta Grannies, said it's the fluff that we say. So step 1 is chapter 17 starts with that, and it is the fact-telling. It's where we start the fact-telling. We don't do any analysis, any judgment, any criticism. We simply gather the facts. And so the first thing that you're prompted to do is think about a time where there was some emotional trigger. Any emotional trigger. I feel some kind of way. That works. And this works with positive and negative, but since we're talking about healing, we're going to work with things that prompted an uncomfortable emotion. The first thing that you need to know, and this is kind of a brief, we give you much more details in the book, and there's videos online that I give a much more expanded description, but just in 2 or 3 minutes, you're going to write down the facts, the narratives. I did some things and you did some things. Okay. We keep it in those vocabulary, no names, no nothing. And there's some reasons, but we don't need to go into that. I did this, you did this. This is what happened. Facts. Where was it? Who was it? What actually happened? And in the facts of what happened, we include your feelings. If you felt it, it's real. We encourage you to get a feeling wheel, a list of words, but we encourage you to list the emotions that this has prompted. Facts.
Okay. So I'm very visual, so I just want to ask you real quick. You see the journal?
Yep.
You said it says name it right here.
The very first thing you do, give your story a title, because we're not talking about a 15-year span. We're talking about one incident at a time, because that's manageable. And I encourage you, I challenge you, and it says so in the instructions, try to put that in 6 words or less, because that makes you think specific. This is where if you think about something you want to heal and you write it in your journal, when you come back that evening or the next day or whenever you're making time to do healing work in your life, you have a reference point. You've given it a name that you can remember. So you take a situation. Can you think of one? And
I believe I can, because I actually woke up thinking about it this morning, and you said 6 words or less.
6 words or less.
This is very, very personal, but I'm going to go with my dad was pronounced dead.
Okay.
So it's all about my grieving process.
Okay. All right.
My dad was pronounced dead.
Short, quick. This tells you one specific incident.
Okay.
And then the next thing is to simply write the story. No facts, no judgment, no analysis, no what you thought other people were thinking. And you have space right under that. And it says step 1 in page 1 of your actual journal. There's 4 journal pages that go with each cycle. So if you were going to tell this story, just the facts, just the story, not your whole life experience with your dad, can you narrow that down to a specific storyline?
Oh, that's going to be hard. If you say just the facts, just want some quick sentences, I guess. Right. Can I start with the date and the year?
Absolutely.
So
as much detail as you can.
I'll say September 2019 at 3:30 in the morning. I got a phone call from the doctor at the hospital. Okay. And then he told me my dad is dead. All I could think of is I said, at what time did he pass? Okay. All right. So I'm not going to list all of them here, but
just the fact, you notice that those were just the facts? It forces you to stop and say, if this was a movie narrative, what was happening in that life clip of my life? And then feelings. Can you think of any emotions just off the top of your head that came up then or that come up now when you think about it? I felt or I feel. And what are some words that you could use to describe?
The only word I could think of right now is empty. Do you have do you have like a list or something of feelings that could help me to, because I can't think of any right now. I'm thinking that it happened so long ago. I'm thinking that I was empty when I got the phone call. I'm thinking that I was sad. I was overwhelmed.
Very good. That's a really good point. We encourage people to go online. Just Google it. Feeling wheel or feeling word lists.
Oh, wait a second. What is that again?
A feeling wheel or a feeling word list. Find one you like. There's some that are pretty. There's some that are in a circle. There's some that just have an alphabetized list of words. There's some that are grouped, angry type of words or uncomfortable words. Find one that works for you, because part of this is about building your emotional intelligence. Can you explain what you're feeling to yourself first? It's unweaving that tangle that trauma creates. So facts, and you gave some really good feeling words. I felt empty. I felt sad. I felt, and you go and describe that. And that is step 1, framing it. What's the story? What's the story? And so that's the first step in the process. That's chapter 17. All right, so every step of the process, we encourage you to find a healing support person. There's a space in your journal because there's a reading process. At the end of chapter 17, it talks about the Sankofa or the healing circle format. There's a part about reintroducing our healing process to the community space. This is someone that feels safe to you. We give you some tools for how they can support you in that healing circle space, and you would simply read your step 1. You're taking the time to create it, and you just simply read it. And there's a feedback loop that's about identification. And let me mention about identification. It's different than sympathy. I'm responsible for my healing. You can't heal for me, just like I can't heal from you. And so we use identification, which says, as I listen and hold space for your experience, as I hear the emotions that were triggered for you, what I'm looking for within me is there anything about your story that I can identify with because it connects with my life? Have I ever felt sad or empty? I have. I can identify with feeling sad or empty. Maybe I've had an experience that's like yours, but maybe I haven't. If I haven't, if my father's never died, I still have felt sad or empty. I can identify, because this is what helps us keep in the loop of compassion, not judgment. I felt these things, so I can imagine symbolically what you might have been feeling, because I have felt it too. I'm identifying with that experience, but I might be able to say, I remember my father dying in front of me. I remember that time of having to tend to a parent that has passed away.
Hmm.
I may bring up all kind of other emotions that ain't got nothing to do with your story. I felt exhausted. I felt has nothing to do with your experience, but it is identification, and we encourage that. And so there's an end of that chapter that goes into that.
So the identification part, that's after the feelings section?
Sankofa section at the end of chapter 17. So at the end of step 1, which is where you'd be doing your reading, it's right there in the textbook.
Right there at the bottom.
Right there in the textbook. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a check for each step. And so that's something that you'll do with each step of the process. This brings it back to your support person. And we definitely encourage that because healing together is easier. All right, step 2 of the process. You give yourself space to deal with those emotions and whatever has come up by step 1. And then we move on to step 2, when you feel ready. This is a self-paced healing modality. And so in this step, you've got space in your worksheet, and the instructions will tell you that you're going to look at the event, see if you can encapsulate that into a sentence. What is this incident about to you?
And I'm assuming we're here, right? To be clear.
Step 2 in your journal, absolutely. So it's the second page in your journal. And so that summarize it is what was significant for you in that event. Sometimes it's the same thing as your title, but if there's some importance to that for you, you'd be summarizing that in just a little short sentence. Take the whole story and put it in a 1-sentence summary. And then from there, you're going to be looking at what are the values?
Okay, yeah.
What are the values that that the other people in this exhibited? And some of that is speculation based on what you saw. If someone yelled at you, the value may be, I have the right to speak to someone, you know, and yell at them or speak to them disrespectfully. That's the lived value. So you're going to identify the lived values from your story, whether you agree with them or not. Because part of this is seeing which of the values you didn't agree with. Your value about death and dying is significant.
Yes.
Expecting your dad to be here, speculating to see your children grow up. I expected my dad to be here to see my children grow up, and he died.
Yeah.
My expectation was that. Well, do you have any other values about death? I believe that you die when you die. When your time is up, you go. Ooh, those values might be in confliction, but we put them down anyway.
Okay.
And then we take time and look at the losses. What are the losses from this experience? So values, losses, and then the last part is, and then what did I do? How did I respond?
Okay.
Behavior and thoughts of my response. And then we stop. We just stop one step at a time. Any questions about that step of the process?
I guess the expectations got me, my values got me confused a little bit. And I'm sure my values there are my values. I just want to kind of just make sure I'm in the ballpark since they pronounced my daddy dead. I'm using that, right? That's going to be the subject of it all for me. So I'm thinking we live, but everybody dies, maybe.
It's value.
We live, but everybody dies.
Sometimes it comes from faith.
Okay.
You know, when you die, you go to heaven, or God decides when you die, or divine providence knows how many days you have, or those are values. And the way we sometimes speak it in real life, what should have happened? What should have happened? In your mind, what should have happened? I didn't expect him to die today, that day.
Right.
Because we're talking this in past tense.
Right. No, I did not expect him to die. I expected him to die, but not, like you said, right then.
So your expectation, I didn't expect him to die then, and then he does.
Right.
Your expectations were shattered.
And then as far as the losses, for me, is I lost my dad. So, okay, I just want to make sure I got those.
And what else did you lose?
Oh, man, I lost a support system. I lost the grandfather to my daughter. I lost Hughes. So
you can imagine there's quite a few things that may come up in situations. It's not just one thing. I lost my dad.
Right.
What other losses? Maybe your dad was your fishing buddy. I don't know. Maybe it was your dominoes or cards buddy. I don't know. Whatever those losses, spending time thinking about that.
Okay.
What did I lose from this situation happening?
Mm-hmm.
The past, I can't undo it, but what did I lose? Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that is step 2. And then step 3, we're still collecting facts, but step 3 takes and really starts looking at, what did I do? We just finished talking about it in step 2, but this says, go back through that scenario. What did you do in response? This happened. Now, how did you respond to this? It might be right after, it might be several days. This is really subjective, but what did you do?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, you might have cried. You might have gotten up to go to the hospital because you've been summoned. You might have tended to other family members, tended to your daughter so that you could get free to go. You might have done lots of other things. What did you do next?
So we're on step 3. I'm sorry, because I'm calling. We're on step 3. What page is that in the book for me, please?
Chapter 19, you've got a table of contents. Okay. Look at your table of contents and look for chapter 19.
Chapter 19. Okay.
Step 3.
So, okay, got you right here. So that is page 80. Okay, thank you.
Got a detailed table of contents so you can use this book in a variety of ways based on your own personal needs.
Step 3, yeah.
So we're taking really the responses from step 2 and you're listing them. You're giving space for that. You're sitting with that. You're seeing if any other emotions come up. And this is no judgment, no shame, because we can gaslight ourselves, and that's not what this is about. This is about.
So my responses are, for example, I cried, right? I screamed.
Yeah.
I took time off work. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It would also be things like, I went and got drunk. I went and got a tub of ice cream and sat in front of the TV and just ate ice cream all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Friend on the side. Called up a friend on the side. I'm soothing my emotional needs. So sometimes it's those kinds of things or substances. There's lots of behavioral drugs of choice that lead us to things to deal with that. So whatever it is, sit with that.
Okay.
That's step 3. Okay, so step 4 has 2 parts, but for individuals that are doing one trauma incident at a time, really the 4B is relevant. Yeah. If you're doing lots of incidents together, then we start grouping your survival responses, because sometimes if there's several incidents, you do the same kind of behavior. I went home and cried. I cried right there in the moment. All of those would be crying. And so we group them. But with one incident, you're really concerned with 4B, because we do the same thing in 4B that we did in step 2. We take our behavior.
Right.
Now we're only looking in our mirror. What are the values associated with my behavior? What are the values that I hold that might be in confliction with the values I lived out? And what are the losses?
Right.
So it takes that, and now we're looking, this is the mirror. I'm looking in the mirror. What did I do? And what are the values behind what I did? Did some of them conflict with values I hold? I believe people should be treated with respect, and I cussed her out. Ooh, both of those happened. I believe people should be treated with respect, and I still cussed her out. Triggered. You would list both of those values associated with your narrative. With each story, you pick from your story what those values are. Okay. And you sit with that.
I mean, I'm thinking, a lot of people, they don't like admitting to crying, but for me, I cried. So crying is an emotional response for me.
And what were your values? Because values could be crying is a sign of weakness.
Right. It's an emotional response for me.
Okay. For some people, their very values are the source of the trauma. I cried. That's a fact. But if in my mind, I feel like that's a weakness, crying traumatizes me.
Right.
And so it's saying, what is your real value about showing emotions? And we dig that up. So that's a really good example. Your value was aligned with you crying. It matched.
Yes.
No confliction.
Got you.
In other parts of your response, you're wanting to look and see, because we'll ask about those conflictions. So step 4 is, what did I do? And what are the values associated with it? Were any of these values that conflict with values that I hold? And then what were my losses?
You know, I was thinking I'm thinking one of my survival responses, I have a daughter. So, you know, I had to comfort my daughter, right? I'm thinking that will be the survival skill. And then I'm responsible for parenting her, right? So therefore I comforted her.
So your value said, I'm responsible for this child's emotional well-being.
Yes.
I comforted her, which matches that value.
Yes.
No confliction.
Yes.
No confliction.
Yes.
So this shows things that are in agreement and things that are not.
Well, let me go to my table of contents since we're on step 4. I'm believing that is step 4. Okay, so that's page 86.
Chapter 20.
Okay, page 86. So I'm gonna read up on that.
Okay. And that is step 4. All right. So step 5, we start getting to the places you've noticed everything we've done has been only about facts, no analysis, no judgment, none of that. That's on purpose. How do we unweave and process a situation when we don't have all the facts on the table? Oftentimes when we're in a mode of potentially being traumatized, we're triggered. Let me use some vocabulary. We're triggered. We go into problem solving mode or defense immediately. It's a knee-jerk reaction. That's why I say trauma is the addiction. Step 5 gets us to the place where we're now going to sit with the whole of it. Step 5A says, now go back to steps 2 and step 4. You've got a chart there on the last page of your workbook pages. And we're going to stop there and list our losses. We're going to list all of our losses and sit with it. All right, so we've done steps 1 through 4. And step 5 is broken into 2 parts, 5A, and we'll talk about that first, and then we'll talk about 5B. And so on the 4th page of your workbook sheets, yep, you've got a space there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at steps 2 and step 4, because in both of those, we charted the losses. And you were going to list the losses. But the other thing that you're going to do is try to categorize them. This is subjective, but see if you can put them into categories. And some may be in several. Was it an individual loss? I'm the only one that took a loss. Was it a relationship loss? Or was it a family loss? Something that may have impacted beyond just you. You mentioned your daughter. You may have other family members that this loss impacted or this situation impacted.
Okay.
Our losses. And so you'll take your losses from step 2 and step 4. Okay. Some stuff was other people, some stuff was me, and we're going to categorize them. And then we sit. We look at this incident and say, what did this incident cost me? What are the losses?
I got two columns, right? So I see the loss and the category.
And the category, individual, personal, individual, family, or relationship, and it could be multiples. And if you want to develop other categories for yourself, for categorizing the loss, that is perfectly okay. But we give you those suggestions to see the reach that the loss has impacted.
I mean, you know, I like to read. Let me just check the table of contents real quick. Read that. And that's step 5, right?
Yes.
And
so this is the 5A portion, the first part of the chapter.
Okay, so that's 89, page 89. Okay.
And so you'd list those losses, the losses that other people created or instigated in your life, but also the losses from your behavior.
So let me make sure I got it right. So if I say I lost the grandfather of my daughter, that there is an individual loss and a family loss as far as
I would consider it that, yes.
Okay.
This is up to you. It's subjective, but I would consider that it was an individual loss. I lost that thing that I wanted for my daughter, but it's a family loss because as a family, we don't have that
Okay.
grandpa, energy
Okay.
in that way. And so that is step 5. And this is really where, once you do that, we want you to stop and reflect on steps 1 through 5A. Once you stop, and now that you've unweaved this incident, sit with it. Because step 5B is to you. This is where we get into the analysis part. I suggest people to do a dear self letter, but it can be any style. It could be a poem. It could be a song. It could be artwork. And this is where you say, in the most loving voice you can muster up. Now, if I were interacting with someone in my most loving space, and this incident happened with all of these facts, what's the most loving thing I can give them in response? Now I analyze this situation. But we want you to do it in your loving voice. And sometimes pretending like you're doing this for someone else helps. If I haven't been loving and affirming to myself as much as I am to other people, I tell people, pretend like this is someone you love dearly, and this thing happened to them. And they told you these facts. Now, what would you say to them? Would you start with, you always doing this stuff? Does that feel loving? No. You'd start and say, now I understand better. All of this stuff that we've just unwoven. What do you say to yourself? And that's personal.
Okay.
It's unscripted, but it's an opportunity for you to gain the value out of this experience. No wasted time is about healing from life, because even the stuff that has been painful, one, you've already lived it. You've already spent your life currency on that experience. We want to heal from that so that you can stop spending energy on the things that are damaging us. And so we want you to use this book in a real way. It's available now. Revolution Must Come to Our House, Our Home. You can buy it on the digital copy on nowastedtime.com or on the globalundergroundrailroad.com, which is the International Welcome Center's page, or you can find it on Amazon. And so we just wanted to give you a quick intro, some quick snippets, so that if you just need a little bit of extra encouragement to get the steps started. And then on April 15th, we'll be starting a 30-day healing challenge. It's free. You can go to the No Wasted Time and sign up. And we will daily have space, a safe space created. And it'll be co-working space, but also an opportunity to ask questions as you work through the process. There's also free videos on the nowastedtime.com site. Scroll down to free resources or the free link, and there's a playlist on YouTube. Pick one that you like, and it too will walk you through the training. And so we encourage you to sign up and heal together with us. Make a commitment to spend 30 days learning these tools, and join us in the revolution. Thank you for being here with me, Jackie. Thank you for getting started on the work.
So excited!
Feedback so far on what you've been reading so far.
What I know is I've done a healing circle, and what that did was, it's like an onion, right? It peeled back some labels. I thought some layers. Something else came up. I didn't wrote it down in my book because I'm going to deal with that later. But I'm finding out with that first cycle that I did is other things come up, which is healing for me.
One layer at a time.
One layer at a time, yes.
Thank you for getting started, and we hope that this gives you another really good tool to put in your toolbox, because the work of healing is what we can control. It's the part of change that we can change. So when we're talking about changing the world, changing the person that we can, fulfills that mission. And so thank you for participating in the work with us as we heal together.
Yes, you're welcome.